Hi, my name is David Autovino, and I play Arturo in the upcoming game, Claire de Lune. I was a nerdy theater kid in high school, went to college to become a professional nerdy theater person, worked in professional theater for about 10 years. I booked a big national commercial, which I worked on for about a year, and I had to do the voiceover as well. And the studio was about an hour and a half from my house, and so rather than drive back and forth several times a week, I thought I should figure out how to do this from home. And so in the intervening 12 years, I've spent that time building my own home studio. It was a national commercial campaign. I was like a spokes character, like Flo the Progressive Lady or something like that. I was like one half of a comedy duo with retired NFL star Michael Strahan. Two of us would talk about sporting goods for this sporting goods store. And it was on that job that I sort of learned, a lot of camera technique and what works and what doesn't on camera, what works and what doesn't in voiceover, all the production stuff, and what it feels like to have a millions of dollars worth project kind of riding on your performance, and how to just be like, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to go in and do my best. So that was formative for me and educational. I teach acting for the stage, and I've also done a lot of teaching for voiceover. So for voiceover, I've done master classes and I've done personal one-on-one coaching sessions because, especially within the past year, with so many people stuck at home, a lot of my stage actor friends have reached out to me saying, so Dave, I hear you do a lot of voiceover and all the theaters are shut down and I don't have any work. What microphone should I buy? So since I've spent, more than a decade building up my personal home studio into something that I'm incredibly proud of, and I would put the output of my studio toe to toe with any, professional recording studio out there. I really, really like to give all of my acting friends advice about what equipment they should buy, what their priorities should be, how to make sure they treat a room so that you don't get echoes and reverberation off the walls, what's the best bang for their buck, because equipment's expensive and you can spend a little, you can spend a lot. I like helping actors that already have a grounding in the art, reach out into this new field that I discovered later in my career and have totally fallen in love with. So being in commercials, they're like these short, funny comedy videos mostly. So it's always fun to get to do these, what are essentially really short comedy sketches. But I'm a classically trained Shakespearean actor. And so, my favorite roles are the meatier stuff. I've performed Shakespeare live. I did one musical where it ends with me and my twin brother shooting each other to death. And you cry, there's crying and death and everything you want to do. Claire de Lune was an amazing game to work on, one of my favorites. I've gotten to work on some really other terrific games where I've gotten to really use those classical acting skills, bring them to bear, and hopefully they're a good fit for the goals of the game. Playing Arturo was particularly challenging because I'd never played an AI before. And that came with all sorts of fascinating questions that you don't get to ask for your typical human character. To what degree does Arturo have a sentient experience? To what degree does he experience emotions? Does he have an internal consciousness, or is it just programming to give the impression that he does? These are questions that are so fascinating for me as an actor to drill down into. In my initial audition for Jesse Attard, the game's director, I gave a very different take on Arturo than what he ultimately became at the end of the game. I read the lines and I immediately thought of Alan Tudyk's classic beloved character Wash from Firefly. The way he's this kind of a humorous sidekick, he's got some bravado, maybe he's hiding some insecurity under that. It seemed like, all right, this is an AI that is just fully human in every respect. So let's not deal with any pretense of having him be robotic at all. And I gave this like just this super casual, like laid back, like I don't really care. Like, yeah, people might die, just another day at the office, devil may care attitude. And Jesse and I went with that for about halfway through our first recording session. At some point he stopped me and he said, you know, Dave, I'm starting to rethink how I want the player's relationship to this character to be. And so I think we need to go back and make some changes. Actors love hearing that they're doing everything right, but it's more useful for me, for a director to give me specific direction, because they're the ones that know how they want their audience to respond. The audience in this case is the player. And that's such a unique audience because they are in this story. They're in the scenario. Eliciting the exact emotional response to a character that you want the player to experience is a really, really delicate art. And so what we landed on with Arturo after a little bit of working together, which I thought was brilliant, was that it's not that he doesn't care, it's that the artificial intelligence-ness of him does affect his character in the sense that he is unable to care about certain things. He's conscious of what it means for an organic being to die, but he doesn't experience that fear himself. So he approaches it with a more objective attitude. It's those kinds of subtle differences that are fascinating and challenging to get to bring to life. And that's why he was such a great character. I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm a Picard guy, Picard for life. Fell in love with Star Wars a little later in life. I've always loved science fiction because it lets you tell stories in a way that realistic fiction doesn't. Science fiction and other speculative fiction and fantasy let characters go to sort of the furthest extremes of our existence. And so as an actor, that's super interesting to me, to get to imagine scenarios that I will never experience in my real life. I've been a gamer since probably before I could walk. The first console in my house was an Atari 800. And so some of my favorite games, I'm admittedly old school. I'm a pixel art guy. Some of my favorite games of all time are Super Metroid, Street Fighter II Turbo, and one of my favorite modern games is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I've dumped more hours in than is healthy. Advice for aspiring actors. Find yourself a monologue that you love from your favorite movie, a speech that your favorite actor or actress delivers in your favorite movie. Memorize it, practice it, perfect it. Give it your very best and give it your all. And then, once we can all do things together again, which is hopefully really, really soon, find your local community theater and go and audition. If you really bring your passion and your intensity, they're going to put you in a show. Once you have performed in a show for your local community theater with other amateurs who may have never done it before in their lives, doing just a community theater show, the basic steps and the procedure is virtually the same as doing it on Broadway. So once you've done it once, you've got that in your bones. You've done it, and then you can do it again and again and again. If you are already an actor and you want to get into voice acting, you just gotta grab yourself a microphone and look around on the internet. It really is. There are so many resources now on YouTube. There are websites that you can sign up for free and start auditioning right away. Don't worry about buying the best equipment yet. Just trust your actor's instincts and go for it. You'll learn as you go along. It's fun and exciting. Just do it. Don't think too much about it. Just do it. That's the best advice I can give.